Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is a place where all hell breaks loose when AI meets SEO. We write for humans and optimize for bots.
It sounds dramatic, but right now, in this specific moment,
Hmm.
that's less hyperbole and more just an operational reality.
Right.
The methods we all relied on for, the last decade, they are fundamentally broken because the very definition of search has completely changed.
Exactly. Our listeners shared a fascinating stack of sources with us, and they all detail this seismic shift, specifically this monumental move away from those familiar blue links.
The ones we've all been chasing for years.
For years, and moving towards these immediate synthesized AI-generated answers, what we're seeing, it isn't just another algorithm update. It feels like a complete transformation of the digital economy's front door.
And a transformation like that, it requires a whole new philosophy.
Yeah.
So I think our mission today is really to unpack these new rules of online visibility. We have to move from that legacy mindset of
Chasing the #1 spot.
exactly chasing that ranking. The whole mechanical checklist approach, we have to move to something far more strategic, far more complex, which is the challenge of becoming the definitive trusted answer that an AI model actually pulls from, that it cites, and then uses to inform the customer.
The urgency of this change it can't be overstated. We have to look at the immediate context here.
Yeah.
This is the end of organic search, at least as we know it.
Yeah.
So let's kick off with a foundational statistic, one that really highlights the consumer preference that's driving this whole thing. Get this. 83% of consumers believe AI-powered search tools are more efficient than traditional search engines.
83%. That number is it's staggering.
It is.
It's an overwhelming mandate from the audience, and it signals a critical behavioral shift. Consumers are basically screaming, I am drowning in information and I want the shortcut. Traditional search, give you options. Generative search delivers a resolution. And this preference for efficiency is what's driving the transformation we see across, all the major engines. ChatGPT, Perplexity, and of course Google's AI overviews. They're all shifting from an index of documents to an informed summary of knowledge.
So the core question for any marketing leader, any content strategist, any CMO, it's just been radically changed because of this pivot. It's no longer how do we use keywords to rank #1.
That's the legacy mindset. And that's the mindset that's going to trap teams in, frankly, low-impact activities.
So what's the new question?
The strategic question now is, how do we structure our knowledge and validate our expertise so that we become the most trusted source? The one the model selects, synthesizes, and then attributes when it forms its answer. It's a shift from optimizing a page for a keyword to optimizing the entirety of your brand's knowledge for machine consumption, for machine trust.
Okay, let's really define this generative shift in detail, because it's the root cause of every single workflow change we're going to talk about. We have to understand the fundamental difference here.
Okay, so traditional search was, at its core, an index. Think of it like a giant library catalog. You search for a topic, and the engine gave you a list of books, websites that you might want to check out.
And all the work of synthesis, of understanding, that was on you, the user.
Entirely on the user. And now that whole dynamic has completely inverted.
Right.
The generative engines, they provide a quick, synthesized answer immediately. They're acting like this super-informed librarian who has already read all the books, compared them, pulled out the key takeaway, and just handed it to you in a single coherent paragraph.
And that happens instantly, right there on the page. It just eliminates the distance between the question and the solution.
Exactly, which means the zero-click search phenomenon, which we've talked about for years, it's now the default behavior. It's not the exception anymore.
Well, if 83% of people find it more efficient, they're not going to take the extra step of clicking a link unless they absolutely have to. They're happy with the summary.
And that satisfaction introduces this new concept, the new ranking signal, which is really foundational to generative SEO, and that is citations.
Citation.
Yes, the source material highlights this really well. Even the most synthesized AI answers are usually presented with citations, the links that users are most likely to click if they want to go deeper or, verify the info. These citations, they are the new rankings.
That completely reframes the competition. You're not fighting for slot 1 on a page of 10 blue links anymore. You are fighting for inclusion as a core source in that AI summary.
And this is where the click-through data becomes so important, because people are clicking these citations, especially when the information is complex or it's a high-intent search. The research shows 60% of consumers click through at least sometimes after seeing an AI-generated overview in Google search.
60% is not a small number.
Not at all. And if your brand earns that citation, you have effectively bypassed all the noise on the search results page, and you've gained this high-intent, high-trust traffic. But if you're not cited, your visibility is zero.
And we also have to recognize that the audience isn't just staying inside Google's world for search anymore, right?
Yeah, it's a crucial insight. There's a separate study that notes 91% of frequent AI users. They're turning to LLMs like ChatGPT for their searching needs.
91%.
Which confirms the audience is already habituated to going straight to the model. They're bypassing the traditional web index entirely. So optimizing only for Google's old crawler is optimizing for a smaller and smaller piece of the pie.
Okay, so if citations are the new clicks, then authority and trust. That's the content king's new crown. You can't just game a citation with the old tactical tricks.
And this brings us to the core identity shift that's required of SEO teams. Generative engines, they absolutely prioritize expertise, real brand authority, and meticulously structured data. They prioritize that over simple keyword matching.
They're looking for reliability.
And proven provenance, exactly. This demands that SEO moves out of its historical spot. The mechanical checklist under demand gen. And it has to integrate directly with strategic functions. We're talking about brand knowledge management. We're talking about credibility.
So what you're saying is SEO isn't just a marketing tactic anymore. It's now a strategic knowledge management function. It's responsible for the brand's credibility in this new machine-driven world.
Precisely. The goal isn't just getting crawled efficiently. The goal is making sure that when an AI pulls data to form an answer, your content is what that model trusts the most. And that trust is earned through things like verifiable credentials, clear source attribution, and deep semantic coverage. Things that are often just absent in content that was only designed to rank.
If the content isn't authoritative, if it's not verifiable, if it's not structured with schema, the AI just won't use it, even if it has a million backlinks.
It'll just ignore it. And this shift introduces what the sources call the CMO's dual dilemma, which I think perfectly frames the challenge.
Okay, let's break that down. AI is simultaneously a discovery channel and a competitor for audience attention. The competitor part is where I think a lot of CMOs struggle to assign budget.
Right. So consumers are already treating Gen AI as a trusted source. One of the sources notes that 56% of consumers trust Gen AI as an education resource.
56%.
That establishes the engine as this incredibly powerful mediator. It sits between your brand and your customer, and it influences their perception, it educates them, and it shapes their purchase intent long before they ever get to your site. That makes it an essential distribution channel. It's a must-win battleground.
Okay, but the idea of the AI as a competitor is a little counterintuitive. Why would something that's trained on our data compete with us?
Because the AI is trained on all the content. Yours, your competitors, user reviews, forum discussions, everything. Its knowledge base is comprehensive and, in theory, neutral.
So when it gives the answer?
When it provides that synthesized answer, it resolves the user's need instantly. And by doing that, it's competing for the audience's attention by providing the answer itself. If your content doesn't meet the highest standard of trust, the AI will quote someone else. Or worse, it'll just answer the question so perfectly that the user is satisfied and the traffic is gone.
Let's use that concrete example from the source material because I think it illustrates the real damage here beyond just vanity metrics. A customer asks, what is the best CRM for enterprise brands?
Okay, so if the AI engine suggests a summary that's derived mostly from, say, HubSpot's content, and it cites them as a key source, and it completely overlooks your brand, the damage is multi-layered.
It's not just a lost click.
It's not just a lost click, though that's bad enough. It's a missed opportunity to get immediate trust and interest from a highly motivated searcher. The hard truth is the Gen AI model simply didn't see your content, your product pages, your guides, as authoritative or reliable or even structurally clear enough to use in its summary. You failed the trust test.
And the cost is immediate brand affinity and lost pipeline.
Exactly. So if we look back, traditional SEO is about optimizing for crawlers. Those robots designed to index pages based on keywords and links.
And now?
And now, with generative SEO, you have to optimize for the model's memory. This is a profound conceptual difference. You're structuring your knowledge base so that the AI, when it builds its internal map of the world, sees your brand not as a collection of pages, but as the immovable, verified center of truth on a topic.
That requires meticulous knowledge architecture. It's so far beyond just page structure and meta tags.
Right. To put a finer point on it, content optimized for a crawler might prioritize a high keyword count. Content optimized for a model's memory prioritizes credentials, proprietary data, and structured verification. If you don't validate your claims, the AI will simply forget you exist when the question gets asked.
It's like you're building an indelible, fact-checked reference point within the machine's own cognitive framework. Okay, let's take that concept optimizing for model memory and apply it to a strategic framework. If the old playbook is obsolete, what are the new pillars of success? The sources define 3 critical pillars of visibility in this AI era.
And traditional SEO is now just the base layer of this much, much larger puzzle. You have to be successful across all 3 of these pillars.
What's the first one?
The first pillar is the baseline. You could call it simple hygiene. Appearing in results or answers. This is just inclusion. Are you indexed? Does the AI know you exist? This still requires all the technical SEO, basic speed, crawlability. If you fail here, the rest is irrelevant.
Right, table stakes. Okay, the second pillar, this is where the strategic advantage really lies. It's being seen as a thought leader by being cited or trusted as a credible source.
This is the high-value activity. This is where your citation score comes in, where strategic partnerships matter, where reputation management merges with search. It's not enough to just be visible. You have to be seen as the definitive authority.
And the third pillar, the one that makes sure this all translates to business value, driving influence, affinity, or conversions.
Because visibility that doesn't generate business impact is a hobby, not a strategy. The challenge here is tracing the influence of things like zero-click exposure and citation traffic, which we'll get into with the new KPIs. But this framework, it mandates that success is only achieved when you earn machine trust and you drive measurable influence.
Ranking alone is just insufficient, which makes the overhaul imperative mandatory. You have to throw out the old playbooks.
Absolutely. And the first major shift in that redesign process is moving from keyword targeting to knowledge modeling. We have to stop thinking like machines focused on isolated text strings and start thinking like the model itself.
Which perceives concepts, entities, relationships between things.
Exactly. Generative models have semantic fluency. They don't just see the phrase best CRM integrations. They see the entity, CRM, software type, and the action integration of function, and the related concept of customer data. They see the whole picture.
So to align with that, what's the first actionable step for a CMO?
They have to start by building a comprehensive brand knowledge graph. This is the critical step that separates the leaders from the followers. It involves meticulously mapping out all the people, the products, the topics that define your expertise, and this is crucial, how those entities connect to one another through defined relationships.
So we're not just listing topics, we're defining the hierarchy and the connections between them.
Precisely. If you sell 3 different products, the model needs to understand the exact hierarchy, the specialization, the connection points. Product A is a CRM. A CRM is related to a sales pipeline. A sales pipeline improves customer data. You're creating this internal roadmap of your expertise for the machine.
Which means technical requirements like schema markup are now, absolutely non-negotiable.
Oh, completely. It's not a bonus feature anymore. It is the essential language for communicating that knowledge graph to the machines. Schema is the structured data that shows exactly how these entities connect. It's the instruction manual for the LLM.
And if you don't use it?
If you don't use it, then the AI is forced to guess or infer, or worse. Just ignore your content and choose a competitor who was clearer and more explicit with their knowledge architecture.
I think we need to dive deeper on that. The focus is shifting so dramatically from just optimizing for long-tail keywords to targeting what the sources call entity clusters.
Let's elaborate on entity clusters. In the old world, content was often siloed. You'd have a page for email marketing tips and a separate page for CRM benefits.
Optimized for 2 different keywords.
Right. In this new world, the generative SEO approach requires the content reinforces its position within a dense, interconnected network. You're targeting the entire cluster of knowledge around customer relationship management, which includes entities like data management, workflow automation, email functionality, and you have to show how your brand connects all those things together.
So the content itself has to be structured in a way that the AI can instantly see those relationships.
Yes. Think of it like building a thematic fortress, not just a collection of single towers. To use that software example again, you wouldn't just optimize for best CRM integrations. Your content has to explicitly define the relationship of that piece to the concepts of CRM, workflow automation, customer data, and your broader industry expertise. That structural clarity is what feeds trust, and trust is the ultimate currency.
It really sounds like we're moving away from tactical optimization and into like semantic architecture. You're building the foundation of how the AI should perceive and categorize your brand's expertise.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so moving into the actual workflow changes, the most profound shift for content teams has got to be this pivot from content volume to verifiable authority. This is just a direct contradiction to the SEO mantra of the last decade.
Which was publish more faster.
The death of more content is better. I remember that velocity arms race. Teams just believed if they could churn out dozens of pieces a month, they'd win through sheer coverage.
And now, that same high volume of low authority content might just be diluting your brand's overall signal of trust. It could actually be hurting you.
That's the risk.
Yeah, AI systems prioritize attributable, well-sourced, authoritative content. They're looking for quality signals because, frankly, they get penalized for hallucinating or citing unreliable sources. The content velocity mindset is no longer the end game. The focus has to be on producing stronger, more evidence-backed, more verifiable pieces.
So if the output needs to be that authoritative and verifiable, teams need a framework. Let's detail this AI readiness checklist for content marketers. What do they need to integrate into their editorial process right now?
This checklist is absolutely essential. It's about embedding trust signals directly into the content structure itself and making them machine readable. The sources identify 3 mandatory elements.
First up, let's talk about the human element. Author credentials.
The content has to clearly and explicitly show who is speaking and why they're qualified to speak on this topic. This means including the author's full job title, any relevant advanced degrees, certifications, years of experience.
That whole EAT thing?
Exactly. Generative models are actively checking for expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And they can only gauge expertise if it's explicitly stated and verified through schema, like linking to a LinkedIn or professional profile. Is this piece written by a subject matter expert with 20 years in the field or a general copywriter? The AI needs to know instantly.
That requires some deep coordination with your SMEs, with HR, to make sure those credentials are not just listed, but accurate and machine readable.
Absolutely. The second mandatory element is clear citations.
So link out.
Every single statistic, every data point, every major claim has to be linked back to its origin. You have to show exactly where the research came from, including the date of publication. The models are voracious data collectors, but they need the provenance of that information to deem it trustworthy.
Unattributed data is basically a red flag.
A huge one. It's seen as risky for an LLM because it undermines their whole cross-validation process.
And the third, which sounds like the highest bar of content quality, is verifiable claims.
This means referencing independent studies and, ideally, leveraging your own research and proprietary data whenever you can. If you conduct a survey of 1,000 industry professionals, that proprietary data is unique, it's objective, and it can't be found anywhere else.
And that makes you the primary source.
It makes you the definitive primary source. The more you can ground your statements in that kind of unique data, the more credible you become.
You know, this sounds like a major increase in workload and time for content teams. They'll be spending less time writing and more time validating and structuring. Why is this so necessary?
Because of the cross-validation factor. This is the key mechanical difference between an old crawler and a new model. AI models actively cross-validate multiple sources to determine credibility before they synthesize an answer. They look for consensus, consistency, and verifiable provenance.
So if my content makes a unique claim, how does the AI decide whether or not to use it?
Well, if your content makes a unique claim and 5 other high-authority sites the AI trusts back up that finding, that's good. But if your content makes a unique, verifiable claim backed by your own proprietary research, the AI views you as the definitive source. It elevates you instantly in its memory because it knows that by citing you, it's providing a fresh, original, verified data point.
And conversely, if you just make a common claim but you don't have the EAT signals or data,
the AI will simply choose the more trusted, better structured source that says the exact same thing.
So the new mantra for content creation is really clear. Don't publish faster. Publish smarter, publish deeper, and publish more verifiably.
It's all about maximizing the impact per piece. A single, deeply researched, fully attributed, schema-marked piece of content is infinitely more valuable to the model's memory than 10 hasty blog posts chasing low-volume keywords.
One builds trust, the other just creates noise. Now let's talk about agility. We've established that these generative engines are, well, they're volatile. The AI's behavior, its preferred sources, they change frequently, so we can't treat content like a static, finished product anymore. We have to move from static publishing to dynamic feedback.
The volatility demands an agile, continuous publishing cycle. This is the complete antithesis of set it and forget it. Successful teams have to adopt this continuous cycle of observation, refinement, and immediate action. The sources detail 3 key consistent tasks that modern SEO teams must be performing.
Okay, task 1. Testing which questions the audience asks in generative engines.
And this goes way beyond traditional keyword research. You need to understand the conversational intent, the phrasing people use. This is almost like miniature prompt engineering.
So it's not just the search volume for CRM features.
No, it's qualitative analysis. Are users asking for comparisons like CRM versus ERP? Are they asking for definitions like what is a knowledge graph? Or procedural steps, how do I migrate my data? This requires proactive querying and manual audit work.
Okay, task 2. Tracking whether their content appears in those answers.
This is where the new tooling comes in. You need reporting mechanisms to actively check if your structured content is earning citations across all the major generative platforms. Google, Perplexity, Bing Copilot, you name it. If you can't measure where and how the AI is citing you, you can't fix a deficit or double down on a strength.
And then task 3 closes the loop. Refreshing content based on what is being cited, summarized, or ignored.
Right. If a piece of content is cited, you reinforce it immediately, update the data, add fresh EAT signals, broaden its entity coverage. If it's ignored, you overhaul it, add the author credentials, fix the schema, bolster the verifiable claims. It's a feedback loop where the AI's behavior dictates your content strategy.
This mandates tooling and reporting that, frankly, didn't exist 3 years ago. You can't just rely on Google Search Console anymore.
No, it's completely insufficient for this ecosystem. And the source mentions several emerging tools designed for this: SE ranking, Peak AI, Profound, Conductor. I'm really curious what these tools are telling us that, Google just won't reveal in GSE.
Well, GSE tells you what Google's crawler indexed and where you ranked for a keyword. These new tools are designed to monitor unstructured text outputs. They run automated audits, they query the models with core industry questions, and then they scrape the results to tell you 2 things: which entities were mentioned and which specific URLs were cited.
So they're providing direct visibility intelligence. That's what we need. And whether a team invests in a third-party tool or just runs regular internal AI audits, treating this citation and answer data like you treat Search Console metrics is essential. It is the new visibility report.
Okay, we've established that traffic is no longer the sole proof of impact. If a huge percentage of searches end in a zero-click answer, we have to reframe success. Progressive CMOs are adopting new metrics that transform SEO reporting from, vanity numbers.
Like page 1 rankings.
Right. And into something much more strategic, what the sources call visibility intelligence.
This section is paramount. If you can't measure success in the language of this new ecosystem, you cannot prove the value of your team's generative SEO efforts. You need new KPIs. And the source provides a fantastic breakdown of 5 new essential metrics that every team should start tracking right now.
Let's start with the one that basically replaces the traditional ranking position: AI citations.
This is the literal frequency your content is referenced within AI-generated responses. It's the ultimate confirmation that the model found your content authoritative, trusted, and sound enough to use as source material. Tracking this across different LLMs gives you a clear, quantifiable trust score.
And the strategic importance here is that a citation isn't just a suggestion, it's an endorsement.
Exactly. An endorsement by the machine mediator. If Google cites you in an AI overview, that is immediate, high-trust brand exposure. This is why teams are now structuring content to be easily citable, short, factual, data-driven paragraphs that act as easy snippets for the AI to just ingest and reproduce.
Okay, next up we have what is basically the new market share metric replacing share of voice. This is answer visibility share, AVS.
AVS is the percentage of relevant queries, or entity clusters, where your content actually earns a placement in the AI answer, either as a direct citation or just through summary inclusion. Think of this as your effective market share in the generative era.
So how does a team calculate a baseline for AVS?
It requires proactive testing using those new tools we mentioned. You identify your top 50 core entity clusters, you query the major engines for related questions, and you log which brand gets cited. If your competitor is cited 80% of the time and you're cited 20% of the time, your AVS is 20%.
And that metric immediately shows you where the catastrophic gaps are in your knowledge graph.
Immediately. It pinpoints the high-value clusters where you need to deploy authoritative content right now.
The third metric is a fascinating one because it really captures the new reality of search: zero-click exposure.
This measures the value of being visible in an AI response. even if the user never clicks through to your site. It captures that immense brand benefit of just being associated with the correct synthesized answer. You've still earned a massive lift in brand awareness and authority without the click.
So how do you assign a value to exposure without a click? That seems hard.
You have to assign an equivalent value. Maybe you compare it to an impression in a high-trust advertising channel. It's top-of-funnel impact that traditional web analytics just completely fails to quantify. It proves that visibility, even without direct traffic, holds inherent brand value. You're establishing yourself as the authority.
Then we get to the new clicks, the metric that still drives immediate conversions. Answer, referral traffic.
This is the evolution of organic traffic, filtered specifically for this AI ecosystem. These are the visits that originate directly from AI-generated links or citations. And if you're getting clicks from an AI answer, that traffic is fundamentally different from traditional organic traffic.
How so?
Well, traditional organic traffic often involves users scanning results, making a judgment call. Answer referral traffic involves a user who has already received a comprehensive summary, found it useful, and is clicking through because they want to learn more from the source.
That user is highly motivated.
Deeply qualified, and probably ready for a high-intent action. This is the new conversion signal, and its quality is likely much, much higher than generalized organic traffic.
And finally, tying it all back to the knowledge graph, we have semantic coverage.
Semantic coverage is the breadth of related entities and subtopics for which your brand consistently appears as an authority. This isn't about covering a single topic deeply. It's about proving that your brand has deep knowledge graph alignment across a whole network of related concepts.
So if you're a CRM company, you don't just want to be known for CRM.
No, you need to credibly cover adjacent topics like marketing automation, sales pipeline metrics, customer onboarding, and all the connection points between them, all with high-authority content that reinforces the machine's perception of your holistic expertise.
These 5 metrics, AI citations, AVS, zero-click exposure, answer referral traffic, and semantic coverage, they move us away from vanity metrics into true visibility intelligence. This allows SEO teams to speak the language of the CMO.
Exactly. Focusing on market share, brand trust, and strategic knowledge gaps.
Given that we are in this period of intense flux, how should leaders approach this reality? We have to embrace the volatility.
We must. The source refers to this volatility not as a disaster, but as fertile ground for innovation. CMOs can't afford to be passive. They have to treat generative SEO as an experimental function, like a strategic sandbox, and allocate resources for R&D.
So we're talking about a continuous research and development effort, not just a static operational checklist.
Absolutely. This means continuous testing is mandatory. Teams must be encouraged to A/B test content formats. Does the AI prefer bulleted lists or numbered steps? They need to experiment with different schema implementations, even adjust phrasing and tone to see what earns inclusion. You're continuously probing the models to understand their preferences.
And this can't happen in a silo. If the AI is pulling information from all sources related to your brand, these SEO insights have to be cross-pollinated throughout the entire organization.
This organizational cross-pollination is a strategic necessity now. The SEO team is the frontline observer of how the AI views the brand and the industry. Those insights are gold, and they have to be shared immediately with PR, product, and customer experience teams.
Give me a concrete example of that.
Okay, so if the SEO team audits AI answers and finds that the model is consistently misunderstanding your product's main feature, maybe it's citing an outdated feature or citing a competitor for a claim that should be yours, that is a massive organizational insight. That finding should immediately inform the product team that the feature is poorly defined. It should inform the PR team that their messaging is unclear, and the CX team that they need to update support materials. Learning how AI represents the brand becomes this strategic feedback loop that enhances everything.
It's knowledge governance in action.
It is.
Looking ahead, the source predicts that the very term organic search is going to broaden dramatically to reflect this new reality.
It absolutely must. The old term is outdated. It's going to encompass this fast-growing ecosystem of what we call machine-mediated discovery. The search experience is no longer about the user manually finding information. It's about the machine mediating that entire process.
And the urgency for the strategic redesign, it really can't be overstated. There's a clear prediction that underscores why this needs to happen now, not next quarter.
Forrester predicts that AI-powered search will drive a massive 20% of all organic traffic by the end of 2025.
20%.
20%. That is a fifth of your potential organic audience migrating to this generative answer format right now. If a company waits another year to adjust their workflows, to adopt the knowledge graph model, to implement that verifiable authority checklist, they are basically conceding it a 20% chunk of their pipeline to competitors who made this their priority today.
So if we strip away all the technical jargon and just focus on the core strategic shift, what's the bottom line for leadership?
The traditional best practices, they still apply. Create content that's verifiable, well-structured, context-rich. But the strategic change is in the measurement and the mindset. The focus is no longer on optimizing for arbitrary rankings. It's on achieving relevance in conversation and establishing verifiable authority. The AI needs to believe you are the most relevant, reliable voice in the room.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, moving from the collapse of traditional SEO metrics to establishing the knowledge graph as the new foundational strategy for digital visibility.
I think the key takeaways for everyone listening are absolutely clear. We're seeing this fundamental transition from keywords to knowledge graphs, from content volume to verifiable authority, and critically, shifting success measurement from simple traffic counts to citation frequency and answer visibility share.
So AI isn't killing SEO, it's redefining it. It's transforming it from a tactical discipline focused on mechanics into this sophisticated strategic function tied directly to managing your brand's digital knowledge systems.
The opportunity here is to be an early mover in defining how your brand is understood by the machine. It's a huge challenge moving into this volatile territory, but this is where the audience already is. This is where the future of discovery resides.
Here is the final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over this week. The ultimate goal has shifted from being merely searchable to becoming knowable, not just known by your customers, but known by the machine that mediates those customers. What one step will you take this week to audit how knowable your brand's expertise is to the generative models that are shaping your future audience?